Hello, and welcome to I Hate Talking, a podcast about talking, including etymology, frustrating topics, current events, and other random subjects. I'm Adam.
And I'm Steph. We are married, and we invite you into these discussions with us as we talk about the good and the bad of talking.
We hope you enjoy today's episode. Welcome to episode 66 of I Hate Talking.
Hi, everyone.
So we had a relatively in-depth conversation in the last two episodes, and it was, I guess, of more serious tone. So we'll switch it up for this episode and maybe make it a little bit more lighthearted, or maybe we'll get into some more serious topics. We'll see.
Okay.
So today's word or phrase in light of that is the word Rochambeau.
Okay.
So, care to explain to our listeners what Rochambeau is?
I've heard it before. I can't even place it in a context right now. It just sounds like gibberish.
So, it's another name for rock, paper, scissors.
Okay.
So, it has an interesting etymology that is widely debated. There is a theory, because this game actually originated in China and then became popular in Japan and other Asian countries, that it has been around for a very long time, and that there was a gentleman that was of French descent that was involved in the Revolutionary War in the U.S., and that gentleman's name was Rochambeau, and that he would actually play this game in order to reach critical battlefield decisions.
Like with his commanders?
Yes, I think that is the theory, that if there was a decision to be made and there was maybe disagreement among the different leaders of the army, that they would play rock, paper, scissors, or in the modern vernacular, Rochambeau, to come to a final conclusion on what they were going to do.
Wow. It's like the colloquial, short end of the stick, right? When you draw the sticks and you get the short one, so then you lose. It's kind of like that. Like if you lost at rock, paper, scissors, your army had to go battle or something.
I suppose so. It could be also not only a decision being made, but also who is going to carry out the orders, and the loser would be the one that was saddled with taking that responsibility, and it may not have been a very comfortable decision for them because they were being sent into battle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting.
That is a nice story, but according to the website World Rock, Paper, Scissors Association, that story is not true.
Oh, okay.
So
it's like an urban legend?
It is a common urban legend that is associated to the etymology of Rochambeau. But according to the official association of rock, paper, scissors for the entire world, that is an incorrect belief that is the source of the word Rochambeau.
Okay, so the world leaders in rock, paper, scissors, first, do they acknowledge that it's the same thing as Rochambeau?
Yes, they do associate the word Rochambeau with rock, paper, scissors.
Okay. So according to the World Rock, Paper, Scissors Association, the first mention of RPS for short can be found in the Chinese book Wuzaru. I'm butchering that. In the Ming Dynasty. It claims to go back to the Han Dynasty in 206 BC. So maybe Jesus even played rock, paper, scissors.
That's true. So, yeah, they go on in this particular article that they do note that Rochambeau may have some origins to the gentleman in the Revolutionary War, Rochambeau, but that it is a loose connection, and they actually cite that this particular word first showed up in the West Coast, in particularly Northern California, and they don't really know why, and really no one knows why, because for all intents and purposes, it basically just pops out of nowhere, this particular term, Rochambeau. It does seem that the World Rock, Paper, Scissors Association does seem to subscribe to that etymology being related to the Chinese and Japanese history, because the Japanese term for rock, paper, scissors is Ken Pon. So perhaps people that were intermingling with English and Japanese came to use that particular phrase, Rochambeau, as sort of the Americanized version of Ken Pon.
Okay, yeah, I could see that sounds similar.
So whatever the origin of the term Rochambeau is, whether that is from the French gentleman Rochambeau or this basically first appearance within the American West, and perhaps its relation to some of the Japanese terminology, we do have a first usage that is known, and it was in a particular book published in Oakland, California, on a variety of games in 1936. So that appears to be the earliest known written usage of the word Rochambeau. What is interesting to note is that the modern spelling is Roshambo, but actually in that book it used for the bow instead of BO was BEAU, which does match the exact spelling of the French gentleman. So maybe there's even some relationship there, but we don't really know.
Okay.
Now, like we've already alluded to, the game rock, paper, scissors is very, very old and came from Chinese and spread throughout other Asian countries like Japan. And this particular topic came up because one of our kids was debating with others the effectiveness of paper to beat rock. So that also led us to do some research on the history of the actual elements that are used in rock, paper, scissors. And the original was a rock and scissors, but not paper.
Okay. Well, what else was it? Wait, let me see if I can guess then, because I don't know. Because paper covers rock, but scissors cut paper, so that follows. It'd be something scissors cuts that defeats a rock. I don't know. Okay, I give up.
So the hand signal in Chinese culture during that time was not for paper, but was actually for cloth.
Okay.
So the closed fist for rock would have been the same. The two fingers extended for scissors would have been the same, but the flattened palm would not have represented paper in that time. It would have represented cloth. And I guess that's a little bit perhaps stronger than paper. If you have cloth, you can bundle up a stone or keep it from moving. But that is the exact reason that rock, paper, scissors has changed and evolved to use paper, but originally it would have been cloth.
But why they changed to paper?
That I could not find. I'm not sure. Maybe paper is maybe a more common modern material. There also is a theory that it was originally paper, and that if there was a major decision to be made, that decision would be written down on paper, presented to the Chinese emperor, and if they placed the paper under the rock, that meant that they were overruling the decision. But if they placed the paper on top of the rock, that means that they were agreeable to the decision. But again, don't have a lot of conclusive evidence that that was a particular source of how rock, paper, scissors came about.
Okay.
So our child that was having this debate came up with an alternative where it would be fire, plant, and water, because fire beats a plant, it burns it down, and water beats fire because it will put out the fire. And then basically the plant is superior to water because it will drink all the water.
Okay.
So that was his alternative to the fact that paper does not make much sense in the rock, paper, scissors game.
Yeah, and I've lost every time because I can't remember the hand signals. They're slightly different than rock, paper, scissors, and I just get caught up every time.
Because you don't remember how to make the hand signal, so you're like just doing something else completely? Or because
Right,
you're
like,
trying to have a strategy and it's not working?
No strategy. It just like I forget what is, and then I end up with rock, which they all say is fire. Because it's similar.
So, as an aside, it made sense that rocks were around for a long time and would have been present at the time of the invention of rock, paper, scissors, like you said, in 200 BC. Some estimates go back as far as 3,000 to 4,000 years. And it made sense also that paper or cloth would be around in that particular instance as well. But I did have to fact check whether scissors were around that long because I wasn't sure. I figured scissors maybe were more of a recent invention, but that is actually not the case. Scissors also go back 3,000 to 4,000 years, with some particular artifacts being found from Mesopotamia and Egypt that were dated back that far. And then I believe around 100 AD, there's even a spring mechanism scissors that was discovered where the two blades that have that central pivot point actually have a spring in between so that they spring back open after the person is done cutting.
Man, that's so cool.
So not a hard stretch to believe that scissors would have been around at the time of the invention of this game, rock, paper, scissors, or more colloquially known as Rochambeau.
And do you know that there's like statistically ways to win rock, paper, scissors?
I have heard this. I don't particularly know the strategies myself, and I think some of it has to do if you're doing multiple rounds, because there's not necessarily an exact strategy on the first round, but there definitely is a strategy on your second round based on what the results were from the first round and what the different people played.
Right. Yeah. So I get this from the YouTuber, Mark Rover. He did a study on it. We like to watch him and all his science experiments. And he explained that, the very first one is pretty random. But after that, you have a higher chance of following his plan and winning statistically. Because as we know the phrase, rock, paper, scissors, our brain, if we did rock first, our next one statistically is paper. And then after that, it's scissors, rock, paper, scissors. And in our brains, it goes to that. So if your opponent does paper that round, statistically, they're more likely to do scissors next round. So you can do rock and beat them. I mean, it's not a guarantee, but statistically, if you have 33% chance, right, you're actually going to go a little bit more towards that way if you remember. So if you want to win, go backwards. If they did paper, do rock. So just think instead of rock, paper, scissors, it's scissors, paper, rock, right?
That's true. And I think the strategy that I was aware of would have been that most people by default will change what they're doing. So therefore, they probably would go forward or backward. So in some instances, it may actually be better to play the exact same item that you played in the preceding round, because if they're going forwards or backwards, your particular strategy is somewhat assuming that they are going to change something. So I think that also is a typical thought process for people playing, is that they're going to change whatever their item is that they're using. So you can use that accordingly to perhaps beat them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then of course, all these strategies don't work if everybody learns the strategies, and now we're telling all our listeners. So there will be more informed rock, paper, scissors players, and now you'll know, and maybe others that you play with will know as well. And it will basically break the particular strategy because everybody knows the strategy.
Right. Because if I know that you're going to do the strategy, then I'm going to do the reverse. And then I'll win. And that's the new strategy. That's complicated.
And then I'll do the reverse as well. And then we'll be right back where we started.
There you go.
So, like we said at the start, a bit of a more lighthearted episode. I guess also a bit of a shorter episode. But nonetheless, if you did enjoy this episode, do like, share, and subscribe. And maybe you can employ some of these strategies on rock, paper, scissors Or perhaps you have your own ideas on the etymology of Rochambeau or the origins of rock, paper, scissors in general. You can always send us an email, a text, or leave us a comment.
Sounds good.
So, from your friends at I Hate Talking, until next time, remember, it is only through talking that we begin the journey to understanding.